something, you can go to sleep. My favorite, Pamela ASMR, created this. I've watched all of hers multiple times, along with other people who have also done this challenge. It's so good, it knocks me out every time. So this time, I thought we would do a history challenge, where I give you an event in world history, and you have to tell me what year it occurred in. I got these from this book called History Year by Year. Somewhat random. I tried to pull them from different aspects of world history. And if you want, this can be a part one, because I could have done a whole lot more. I got 65 questions for you, so let me know. First, let me say though that BCE is what we say instead of BC now, and instead of AD we say CE. That's like the more acceptable way of describing history by historians nowadays. So I will specify if it's BCE, but if it's CE, I'm just going to say the regular year, okay? So I will specify if it is BCE. I figured this will be fun because you can always just guess. Some of them have context clues, like if I mention the Soviet Union, you know, there's a window of time there where that year could be. So let me know if any of you guess the year just randomly and you get it right. I kind of want to know. So let's get into it. Number one. When did the Parthians conquer the Seleucids? Mithridates I, king of Parthia, seized Mesopotamia from the Seleucids, the dynasty that ruled Western Asia. His victory created an empire that stretched from Iraq to Afghanistan. In what year did the Parthians conquer the Seleucids? If you said 171 BCE, you can go to sleep. Number 2. When was Antarctica first officially spotted? Although others had sailed close, Russian explorer Thaddeus von Billingshausen was the first person to see the ice shelf that edges the continent of Antarctica. The sound of penguins convinced him that land was nearby. When was Antarctica first spotted on record? If you said 1820, you can go to sleep. Number 3. When did Prince Anuradha become king? Prince Anuradha became the king of Bagan, a Buddhist kingdom on the Irrawaddy River in Burma that became very powerful during his reign. He built the golden Shwedagon Pagoda, said to house the Buddha's tooth. So when did Prince Anuradha become king of Bagan? If you said 1044, you can go to sleep. Number 4. When was the Silver Mountain discovered? The Spanish discovered the world's biggest single source of silver at Potosi in present-day Bolivia. The huge quantities of silver shipped back from the New World paid for Spain's wars in Europe. So when did the Spanish discover the Silver Mountain at Potosi? If you said 1545, you can go to sleep. Number 5. When was the Khmer Empire founded? Cambodia's Khmer Empire was founded by Jayavarman II, who proclaimed himself king of the world. He would dominate this part of Southeast Asia for 500 years. His empire, not him personally. He did not live for 500 years. So, when did the Khmer Empire first begin? If you said 802, you can go to sleep. Number 6. When did Socrates die? The Greek philosopher Socrates was sentenced to death by swallowing poisonous hemlock. He had been found guilty of corrupting young Athenians with his ideas, a charge brought by his political enemies. So when was Socrates sentenced to death? If you said 399 BCE, you can go to sleep. Number 7. When did construction on the Forbidden City begin? The Yongle Ming Emperor began building the Forbidden City in Beijing, a huge complex of nearly 1,000 buildings to house the imperial court. Enclosed by a moat and a high defensive wall, it was called the Forbidden City because only the emperor, his court, and servants were allowed to enter it without permission. So when was the Forbidden City first begun to be constructed? If you said 1406, you can go to sleep. Number 8. When did Canute become King of England? Canute, a Dane, was crowned King of England after defeating King Edmund Ironside. He then secured the throne of Denmark, ruling both countries for the next 20 years. So when did Canute become King of England? England. If you said 1016, you can go to sleep. 1016. Number 9. When was Rapa Nui first discovered by Europeans? Dutch explorer Jacob Roggeveen chanced upon the island in the eastern Pacific Ocean. It was Easter Day, so he called it Easter Island. So when did this Dutch explorer first stumble upon Easter Island or Rapa Nui? If you said 1722, you can go to sleep. Number 10. When was the Ptolemaic dynasty founded? Ptolemy, one of Alexander the Great's Macedonian generals, made himself pharaoh, founding the last dynasty to rule Egypt. He began work on building the lighthouse at Alexandria, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. When did the Ptolemaic dynasty start? Egypt's last pharaonic dynasty. If you said 305 BCE, you can go to sleep. Number 11. When did the Solomonid dynasty regain control of Ethiopia? Yakuno Amlak became emperor of Ethiopia, restoring the Solomon dynasty of Aksum. The Solomonid kings claimed they were descended from the son of the biblical King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba. When did the Solomonid dynasty reclaim Ethiopia? If you said 1270, you can go to sleep. You can go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep. Number 12. When did Draco create the laws of Athens? A man named Draco gave Athens, Greece, its first set of laws. Because he prescribed the death penalty for nearly every crime, his name lives on. Harsh laws have come to be described as draconian. So when did Draco create these extremely harsh punishments for Athens? If you said 621 BCE, you can go to sleep. Number 13. When did Chandragupta become king? Chandragupta I became king of the small state of Gupta in northern India. Conquering far and wide, he founded the Gupta Empire that dominated India for 200 years. So when did Chandragupta I become king? What year was it? If you said 320, you can go to sleep. I promise promise you there will be a year you will get. I made the last one very, very easy, so even if you don't get any of them, you will get the last one, okay? Don't worry. Number 14. When was margherita pizza invented? Italian baker Raffaele Esposito created the classic pizza as a treat for the visit of Queen Margherita. When was margherita pizza, and therefore pizza, invented? If you said 1899, you could go to sleep. Number 15. When did the Safavid dynasty relocate to Isfahan? Shah Abbas I, the greatest ruler of the Safavid dynasty of Iran, moved the capital to Isfahan. He transformed it into one of the most beautiful cities in the world, adorning it with mosques, colleges, baths, gardens, palaces, and a 3-mile-long bazaar. It became a center for the arts, especially painting. So when did Isfahan become the capital of the Safavids dynasty? If you said 1598, you could go to sleep. 1598. Number 16. When was Lucy discovered? Scientists digging in an Ethiopian valley found the fossil remains of one of humankind's oldest ancestors, an ape-like female who lived about 3.2 million years ago and walked on 2 legs. She was given the species name Australopithecus afarensis, but the research team named her Lucy. So when did the Leakeys find Lucy? I think it was the Leakeys. Pretty sure. If you said 1974, you could go to sleep. Number 17. When did Mount Thera erupt? A massive volcanic eruption on the Greek island of Thera buried Minoan settlements on the island. It also set off tidal waves that devastated nearby islands and coastal settlements on Crete. When did Mount Thera erupt on Crete, destroying the Minoan civilization? If you said 1628 BCE, you can go to sleep. Number 18. When did the Laki volcano erupt? Clouds of poisonous gases from the dramatic eruption of Laki volcano destroyed crops and livestock and caused terrible famine in Iceland. There was also a global drop in temperature and crop failure across Europe. So when did Iceland's Laki volcano erupt? If you said 1783, you can go to sleep. Number 19. When did the world's first amusement park open? The world's first amusement park is Dyrehavsbakken, I think, in Denmark. And it is still open today. When did the world's first amusement park open? If you said 1583, you can go to sleep. 1583. Number 20. When did the Normans invade Italy? Let's get close. When did the Normans invade Italy? A number of landless knights from Normandy went to Italy to seek their fortunes. One of them, Robert Guiscard, carved a power base for himself in southern Italy after winning the Battle of Civitate against the Pope. When did the Normans first invade Italy? They had a big presence in Sicily too, but when did they first arrive in Italy? If you said 1053, you can go to sleep. Number 21. When was the Sassanid dynasty founded? Ardashir I overthrew Persia Artabanus V to found the Sasanian dynasty of rulers. When was the Sassanid dynasty founded? There is no comfortable way to sit over here. There just isn't. If you said 224, you could go to sleep. 224. Okay, I made some adjustments. We'll see how this goes. Number 22. When was the Indian Rebellion of the British East India Company? Resentment at the British presence in India was building at this time. The native armies of the East India Company, which was the British business that ruled India at the time, finally revolted following the introduction of a new rifle. Its cartridges were rumored to be greased in pork and beef fat, sparking outrage among Muslims and Hindus because these animal products were against their religion's Haibani. The rebellion lasted a year, after which Britain took direct control of India as the British Raj. So when did this rebellion first begin? If you said 1857, you can go to sleep. Number 23. When did Leif Erikson discover America? Sailing west from Greenland, he reached a place thought to be Newfoundland, Canada, that he called Finland. What year was this? When did Leif Erikson discover the Americas? If you said 1002, you can go to sleep. 1002. Number 24. When did the Haitian slave revolt begin? Inspired by the revolution in France. History context clue. Slaves working on plantations in the colony of Haiti seized the opportunity to revolt. Toussaint Louverture emerged as the leader of the revolution, helping Haiti to become the first black-ruled state. What year did the Haitian Revolution begin? If you said 1791, you can go to sleep. 1791. Bonnie's curling up behind me. There's already not a lot of room here. And now I'm losing more. Number 25. When did the Suez Canal open? The Suez Canal sped up the sea trade between the East and West, since ships no longer had to undertake the hazardous journey all the way around the bottom of Africa, a trip of several thousand miles. Instead, ships could take a shortcut through the new 102-mile waterway between the Red Sea and the Mediterranean. When did the Suez Canal open? If you said 1869, you can go to sleep. Number 26. When was Che Guevara killed? A leading figure in the Cuban Revolution, Ernesto Che Guevara left Cuba to start communist uprisings in other countries. However, he was hunted down by U.S. troops in Bolivia and killed. When was Che Guevara killed? If you said 1967, you can go to sleep. Lots of context clues in that one. Number 27. When were the trapped Chilean miners rescued? When a roof collapsed in a gold and copper mine in Chile, 33 miners were trapped. They remained underground for 69 days before a rescue mission brought them all back to the surface safely. When were the Chilean miners trapped and rescued? If you said 2010, you can go to sleep. Alright, there's an error in my list because number 28 is blank. So we will go back to that. Number 29. When was the Battle of Adawa? At this time, all of Africa, except before Liberia and Ethiopia were under European control. Italy hoped to add Ethiopia to its empire, but it was defeated at the Battle of Ottawa in, in the First Italo-Ethiopian War. When was the Battle of Ottawa? If you said 1896, you can go to sleep. Number 30. When was Marie Antoinette's wedding? At age 15, the French king's eldest son, Louis Auguste, entered an arranged marriage with 14-year-old Austrian Archduchess Marie Antoinette. They would later go on to become King and Queen of France. When was Marie Antoinette married? If you said 1770, you can go to sleep. Number 31. When did the Angolan Civil War end? The Civil War in Angola finally ended after 26 years. That same year, the African Union was launched, the successor to the Organization of African Unity. Bonnie's trying to help. When did the Angolan Civil War end? When did it end? If you said 2002, you can go to sleep. Number 32. When did Emperor Ashoka convert to Buddhism? Appalled by the violence of war, the Mauryan Emperor Ashoka became a convert to Buddhism. He built the great stupa at Sanchi to house relics of the Buddha. When did Emperor Ashoka convert to Buddhism? If you said 262 BCE, you can go to sleep. Number 33. When did East Timor vote to become independent? After East Timor voted to become independent from Indonesia, a violent revolt was triggered by a minority who wanted to remain part of Indonesia. UN troops would later restore order. So when did East Timor vote to become independent? If you said 1999, you can go to sleep. It officially became independent in 2002. So if you said 2002, I don't blame you, but the real answer is 1999. Number 34. When did the Western Roman Empire fall? Italy was virtually the only part of the Western Roman Empire still under imperial rule. Odoacer or Odoacer, I've never known, but him, a barbarian general in the Roman army, overthrew the last emperor, a young boy named Romulus Augustulus, to make himself king of Italy. After 500 years, the Roman Empire in the West was at an end. When did the Western Roman Empire fall? If you said 476, you can go to sleep. Number 35. When did the Soviets invade Afghanistan? The Communist Party of Afghanistan seized power in a coup, renaming the country the Democratic Republic of Afghanistan. However, after a rebellion by Islamic militants, the Mujahideen, the Soviet Union sent in troops to help secure the country for the communists. So what year did the Soviet Union invade Afghanistan? If you said 1979, you can go to sleep. Number 36. When was the East Pakistan cyclone? The deadliest cyclone in recorded history hit East Pakistan, leaving more than 500,000 dead. The limited help from West Pakistan provoked resentment and calls for independence. The region would eventually break free and form the new country of 47. When was Das Kapital published? The German philosopher and socialist writer Karl Marx published his first volume of his book Das Kapital, a criticism of capitalism. His theories would become a major influence on the communist regimes of the 20th century. Sorry, my ear itches. Oh, that's annoying. So when was Das Kapital published in Germany? If you said 1867, you can go to sleep. Bonnie's going to sleep. She's so cute. And Jet is asleep inside of here. My cats. Okay. Number 38. Another volcano. When did Eyjafjallajökull erupt? The eruption of Iceland's Eyjafjallajökull volcano sent up a massive ash cloud, which spread across the North Atlantic Ocean and northern Europe. Over the next 5 days, 95,000 flights had to be cancelled. In what year did Eyjafjallajökull erupt? If you said 2010, you can go to sleep. Number 39. In what year was the South Pole first reached? 2 men competed to be the first to reach the world's last unexplored territory, the South Pole in Antarctica. Robert Scott got there only to discover that the Norwegian explorer Roald Amundsen had beaten him to it. So when did Roald Amundsen get to Antarctica, the South Pole? Because he got there in December, and Scott got there in January. So it was 2 different years. So what year did Amundsen reach the South Pole? If you said 1911, you can go to sleep. 1911. Number 40. When was the Amritsar massacre? Fearing a nationalist uprising in India, British troops were ordered to fire on an unarmed crowd gathered at the Jallianwala Bagh Gardens in Amritsar for a religious festival. Nearly 400 people were killed and more than 1,000 injured, prompting outrage and feeling calls for Indian, I think I wrote that wrong, and calling for Indian independence from Britain. What year was the Amritsar massacre? If you said 1919, you can go to sleep. Number 41. When was the Treaty of San Stefano signed? Following the Russo-Turkish War, the weakening Ottoman Empire lost control of a number of Balkan countries, which it had ruled for centuries. The treaty ended the war and granted Serbia, Romania, and Montenegro their freedom. Bulgaria received limited independence. So when was the Treaty of San Stefano signed between the Ottomans and the Russians? If you said 1878, you can go to sleep. Number 43. When did Turkey invade Cyprus? Turkey invaded the Mediterranean island of Cyprus, fearing it would become part of Greece. The northern part declared independence as the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus, but only Turkey has recognized this. So in what year did Turkey invade Cyprus? When did Turkey invade Cyprus? If you said 1974, you can go to sleep. Number 44. When was the Gujarat earthquake? A giant earthquake measuring 7.9 on the Richter scale rocked the state of Gujarat in northwest India. It resulted in the deaths of more than 20,000 people and the destruction of at least 400,000 homes. About 600,000 people were left homeless. When was the Gujarat earthquake? If you said 2001, you can go to sleep. Number 45. When were the first said 776 BCE, you can go to sleep. Number 46, when was Gandhi's Salt March? As part of Indian nationalist leader Mohandas Gandhi's campaign of nonviolent civil disobedience against British rule, Gandhi led his followers on a march to the sea to collect salt. This activity was banned by the British, who had a monopoly on salt. When did Gandhi lead the Salt March? If you said 1930, you can go to sleep. Number 47, when did Brazil declare independence? When the Portuguese royal family fled their country as Napoleon invaded, they sailed to their colony in Brazil. Although the king eventually returned to Portugal, his son Pedro remained in Brazil and became Emperor Pedro I, declaring independence the following year. So what year did Brazil become independent from Portugal? If you said 1822, you can go to sleep. Number 48, when was the Hungarian Revolution? When Hungary attempted to form a liberal government and withdraw from the Warsaw Pact, Soviet tanks came rolling in. After a week of heavy fighting, the Soviet Union reasserted its control. When was the Hungarian Revolution? If you said 1956, you can go to sleep. 1956. Number 49, when did Pol Pot overthrow the Cambodian government? Pol Pot tried to turn the country back into a simple rural society, forcibly emptying cities and ruthlessly massacring anyone who opposed him. An estimated 1.7 million people died before Vietnam invaded, toppling Pot's brutal regime. When did Pol Pot first take over Cambodia? If you said 1975, you can go to sleep. Number 50. When did Algeria gain its independence? The French army and Algerian protesters had been fighting a bloody war. The French president, who I'm not going to say because that might spoil the answer. The French president was expected to lead France to victory, but instead he granted Algeria its independence. What year did Algeria become independent from France? If you said 1962, you can go to sleep. Number 51, when was the Yom Kippur War? Egyptian and Syrian forces launched a surprise attack against Israel on the holiest day of the Jewish year, but Israel fought back successfully. In retaliation for assisting Israel, Arab nations cut oil supplies to the west, triggering a recession. When was the Yom Kippur War? If you said 1973, you can go to sleep. Number 52, when did the Portuguese discover Brazil? Pedro Alvarez Cabral discovered the coast of Brazil by accident on his way to India. Sailing down the coast of Africa, he ventured out into the Atlantic to take advantage of favorable winds. When did the Portuguese discover Brazil accidentally? If you said 1500, you can go to sleep. 1500. Number 53, when did Fidel Castro take over Cuba? After a 6-year campaign, Cuban revolutionaries led by Fidel Castro overthrew the U.S.-backed Cuban dictator Fulgencio Batista. Castro established Cuba as a communist state. When did Fidel Castro successfully take over Cuba? And it happened on New Year's Eve at midnight, so when did it happen? If you said 1959, you can go to sleep. Number 54. When did Belgium become an independent country? The Congress of Vienna had joined Belgium with Holland to form the Kingdom of the Netherlands. Inspired by the July Revolution in France, discontented Belgians rioted in Brussels, eventually gaining their independence. So what year did Belgium officially become independent? Because the revolution happened the year before, independent the next year. So what year was that? If you said 1831, you can go to sleep. Number 55. When was Indira Gandhi assassinated? Indian Prime Minister Indira Gandhi ordered troops to attack Sikh rebels in Amritsar's Golden Temple, resulting in hundreds of deaths. 4 months later, 2 of her Sikh bodyguards took revenge, assassinating her. When was Indira Gandhi assassinated? If you said 1984, you can go to sleep. Number 56. When was the Prague Spring? The new leader of communist Czechoslovakia, Alexander Dubček, began a program of reform known as the Prague Spring, designed to give the people more freedom. Alarmed at the changes, the Soviet Union invaded and stopped the reforms. What year is the Prague Spring? Prague Spring, Prague Spring. If you said 1968, you can go to sleep. Number 57. When did the USS Maine explode? I wrote this one. I didn't steal this one from the book. I rephrased the whole thing. When did the USS Maine explode? The USS Maine was a battleship anchored in Havana Harbor, Cuba, when it mysteriously exploded. This triggered the Spanish-American War, which led to the United States conquering Spanish territories such as Cuba and the Philippines. In what year did the USS Maine blow up? We still don't know what happened. It was probably an accident, but we'll never know. If you said 1898, you can go to sleep. Number 58. When did Israel invade Lebanon? Israeli troops entered Lebanon to attack the Palestine Liberation Organization forces based there. A ceasefire was called 2 months later, and the PLO leadership moved to Tunisia. What year did Israel invade Lebanon? They stayed for a while, but what year did they invade? If you said 1982, you can go to sleep. 1982. Number 59. When did the British First Fleet arrive in Australia? About 778 of the passengers of the First Fleet were convicts sent by the government to ease prison overcrowding. The fleet moved on from Botany Bay in search of fresh water and landed in Sydney Cove, where a British flag was raised and the first European colony settled. What year was the First Fleet? If you said 1788, you can go to sleep. Hey, Australians. Number 60. When was the Anschluss? A part of Hitler's plan for a greater German Reich was to create a union of Germany and Austria, the country of the dictator's birth. Hitler's troops marched unopposed into Austria that year. The union, the Anschluss. When was the Anschluss? If you said 1938, you can go to sleep. Number 61. When was the Cuban Missile Crisis? U.S. spy planes discovered that the Soviet Union was installing nuclear weapons on communist-controlled Cuba. A lot of Cuba in this. Just off the American Coast, President Kennedy demanded that Soviet leader Nikita Khrushchev remove the weapons or face retaliation. For several days, the world stood on the brink of nuclear war before the Soviets backed down. When was the Cuban Missile Crisis? I tried to pick events that happened within like a 12-month span so they wouldn't spread out, So I picked short events, and just a lot happened in Cuba. When was the Cuban Missile Crisis? If you said 1962, you can't go to sleep. Number 62. When did the Australian Commonwealth form? Although still part of the British Empire, 6 Australian colonies joined together to form the federal Australian state, which would control its own domestic and foreign policy. When did Australia come together to become Australia? If you said 1901, you can go to sleep. Number 63. When was the Gulf War? Again, a short conflict, right? The Gulf War. Iraqi leader Saddam Hussein ordered his troops to invade Kuwait and seize its oil reserves. In retaliation, the United States launched an international operation that forced the Iraqis out, but did not topple Hussein from power. At that time, they would eventually, but what year was the Gulf War? If you said 1990, you can go to sleep. Number 64. When was the Act of Union? Negotiated by Prime Minister William Pitt, the Act of Union was passed by the Irish and British parliaments despite much opposition. It created the United Kingdom, abolished the Irish Parliament, and united the Church of Ireland and England. When was the Acts of Union? All my British and Irish viewers out there, you all know. If you said 1801, you can't go to sleep. Now, let's go back to, number 28. What year did I start my channel? ASMR Geographica started as a project that was mainly funded by residuals during a global event. Although she had wanted to start it back in like 2015, it would take a lot longer, mostly because she was really chicken and finally got the nerve after a few years. Right, if you said 2020, you can go to sleep. And last one, number 65. What year are you watching this video? If you're still awake, if you didn't get the last one, if you didn't get any of them, and you're dying to go to bed, just tell me, what year is it right now? What year is it right now? Now, you have permission to go to sleep after all that. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this, please consider subscribing. Again, I can do a part 2. We can do way more and not involve India or Cuba. We can do a lot of other countries. Let me know. Oh gosh, I had an idea for another go to sleep, but I've completely forgotten it. It'll come to me later, but there'll be more on the way. What was it? Oh, that's right. It was one of those, like, if you can guess what I'm thinking. Like, name a capital city. Were you thinking of Zagreb? If you were, you could go to sleep, one of those. I'd love to do one of those with you guys. Let me know if you're interested.